All right, so let's see. Yeah, we're gonna do, okay, so we're live right now on YouTube and on Facebook. Let's see, gallery view. All right, yeah, this is day 7. I can't, it really feels like we've already been doing this for so long already, because just the tests and trials that come with stepping forth and speaking truth, this truth of the word of God. So let me introduce, I'm going to introduce myself. Well, actually, let me introduce Lisa. Lisa is the president of Resilient Souls, an organization that compassionately cares for survivors of human trafficking, domestic violence, complex trauma. And we offer resources, tools, educational programs so that we can have safe families and in a safe community. So yeah, so thanks so much for joining us today. And we have so many exciting things coming up today. We're going to be talking about the culture of self. We're talking about narcissism and just the overuse or over-diagnosing of narcissistic personality disorder and narcissism in general. So we're asking that question: is it selfishness, immaturity, narcissism, or what's the difference? But we're going to go through characteristics like that. So what do you think about that? Have you really just seen the overuse of it, like since 2018, like for the last 3 years? It's
Yes.
mixed up with their ex and automatically they go on YouTube, like look at all these characteristics and then they diagnose somebody.
Yep, they do. And in my clinical teaching that I was under with Townsend, they explained also that that was the concern when they came out with the DSM-5 evaluations, that all the personality disorders, they were worried about people putting people in boxes and self-evaluating people. And it's dangerous. It really is. I think narcissism is clearly can be defined that those that are truly self-centered and not willing to step into any help or healing or growth or maturity. They're stuck in this place where they're the center of the world and they are right, and it's their way or the highway. And no help outside, no vulnerability, no openness to learn, no eagerness, no heart to step forward to mature.
Right. Yeah. So it's kind of like I don't know, the way I've watched Dr. Ramani. She's, I think, one of the people that is an expert in this, because this is what she studied. What she says is that the NPD, the Narcissistic Personality Disorder, is so debilitating. They're not able to function just in general society, that they're not able to have relationships at work, in personal relationships with other people as well. So what happens is, I think when people break up, what happens is that that person still has good relationships where they're able to function at work. It's just maybe with the spouse, maybe that they're having like conflict, and they may have a lot of conflict within it. But when you have NPD, they're just not, it's with everybody, not just one person.
It's across the board, right? They are right. Everybody else is wrong. They know the way, and it's got to be their way or the highway. They're very rigid, closed-minded, not willing to be flexible, not willing to be teachable.
Yeah. So the fact that you're actually, if you're here, you're seeking help, somebody, maybe you've been labeled by somebody, maybe somebody has labeled you, but you're seriously introspecting, looking within yourself and trying to heal and have empathy towards other people. Those are not characteristics. You may watch the YouTube video and you find characteristics that match you, for example, but all of us have a growth, have to grow. We all need personal development, and we're coming from our childishness of when we were children. We were pretty selfish, right? And so we're moving towards more compassion, and that comes with maturity. So we all need
And empathy,
and empathy and things like that. Right.
compassion.
Exactly. So if
And
you have your book, 40 Days and Nights, Your Healing Journey to Freedom and Purpose, we are actually on page 5, where it's called The Culture of Self. And yeah, so we're just going to go through those characteristics so that you know what is immature, the characteristic of someone who's immature or selfish. Maybe you see that in you as well, and see maybe things or places that you need to adjust so that you can be a more compassionate person who's able to serve and help other people and have healthy relationships.
and remember that narcissism is a scale. And there's times when we have to be very self-centered in order to do something or go through something that we need to go through. For example, an illness. And you need to be self-focused, trying to restore yourself, bring yourself back to healing. People can see that as a very narcissistic period or phase in our life. But it's important that we do that in order to come back to a healthy place. So you have to understand there's healthy narcissism when we have to focus on ourselves. Like example, everybody universally uses the oxygen on us, and then we can give that oxygen to the most vulnerable or those that we're caregiving for. That would be seen even as a narcissistic act. We're placing oxygen on ourselves first, but that's you have to put it in a scale.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we're maybe, and when we look at all these, there's like a scale for all of this, I think. For example, the first one we've heard a lot is lack of empathy. It says immature people struggle to understand or share feelings of others. The Bible warns that in the last days, we will be filled with godless and self-idolatry. That's in 2 Timothy 3:2. So the more our faith matures, the better we become at elevating and empathizing with our neighbors.
And even it's compassionate empathy with others and with ourselves.
Right. So it's not just like giving all of your self, and the way I call it is that when you're not taking care of yourself, it's like you're setting yourself on fire to make other people feel warm. That is not compassion, because compassion is, I've really gone through my own journey. I've taken time to heal and be better. So now I'm overflowing. I know where I've come from. Now I'm compassionately caring for others because I know what it was like to be helped. It's like we help others we have compassion on others with the same compassion we ourselves received. So you know what it's like. Yeah.
And that's the golden rule. Love your others as you would love yourself. And having gone through what is compassion, how to be compassionate with yourself, comes into mindful awareness. Your body, your feelings, your thoughts, you're very much in tune in the present time of what your body and yourself and your soul is going through. Even minute by minute, you're having that wonderful conversation with yourself, without shame, without judgment, without guilt, with understanding and pressing into something that's really good.
Which is different from pity, because when I'm pitying you, I don't even have to think about anything about myself. I just feel just sorry for you. And you can tell people who are being pitiful to you. And it's more like I'm putting myself up here and looking down on you like, oh, I just wish you could just know how, if you could just be like me. You're looking down on people when you're a pity, and it's just not a good place to be. And you can tell. People know when they're being pitied versus compassion.
There is no compassion in pity.
Yeah. And it's rooted in the selfishness of the person who's giving. It's like, I know what you need. You don't know what you what you need. I know it, and so I'm going to give it according to what I think that you need. And that's so damaging. Yes. So the next one is misplaced anger. Instead of treating past challenges as opportunities to learn, immature people lash out. Their anger may manifest as simmering resentment or explosive outbursts. God,
Mhm.
all been there.
And resentment is so dangerous, very destructive to relationships. When you get into resentment, I really recommend getting some help and try to work that out. When you have resentments going on in your relationship, it's like pouring toxic acid onto the relationship. If you don't care for it and try to heal it, it just goes straight to dissolving and destroying. That's related to envy and jealousy.
Yes, that's what I say. If you're in a relationship with someone and they're hysterical, it's historical. They're not angry at you. They're angry at somebody they're resentful with in the past. Maybe remind them of, either their mom or their dad or their brother, somebody who really mistreated them in their past, and they're just bringing it out on you. They're getting triggered by you, and it's an outburst that's hysterical. Gosh knows that we've been there before, and we catch ourselves when we're being that hysterical, and we go, okay, this is not about what we're talking about right now. This is something in the past, and you have to visit that.
Right. So again, that comes to being compassionately empathetic to yourself and your own story, and understanding your own story, and catching yourself when you're hyperreactive. When you're hyperreactive and fight, flight, freeze, or the flare up of the fight of anger, it's without any knowledge behind it, you're dangerous to yourself and dangerous to relationships.
Right. How about the next one? Victimization. Instead of taking responsibility for their own shortcomings, immature people blame others. The blame game. I think that's where we're talking about, like, you leave a relationship and it's all automatically about the other person. You can't ever see that it took two people to be in that relationship and that you are part of the dysfunction. And so blame and blame and blame, and you're the victim. You're always, always, always the victim.
And we have to recognize when we step into adulthood, into maturity, like you say, there's a history that can push and motivate and promote us into making choices that have consequences. A true victim is somebody that is usually very vulnerable, very innocent, childlike, that gets victimized, or it's a sudden attack of nature or accident, something coming that they had no control out of. We have to really understand that we so mess up the whole language of victimhood and tie in all that other, not taking responsibility for our own thoughts and actions, but playing that helpless victim, which gets distorted.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. And how about instant gratification? Immature people sacrifice long-term wisdom for short-term pleasure. I think it's that desperation that comes when you go into a relationship and you can tell that person, just, I want it right now, like, right now. What do you mean wait? No, I've got to have it right now, and if I don't have it my way right now, the way I want it, it's like a hissy fit.
Yeah. And again, that brings up that childlike behavior, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there's no maturity there.
Yeah.
There's and very self-centered, wanting to get our desserts first before serving anybody else. And it's dangerous, especially when you have adults walking around that way. A mature adult will sacrifice their own desires, their own needs for the benefit and helping those less than them in capability, the vulnerable around them.
Yeah, I was thinking about that today, how much maturity it takes for a man in a relationship or woman when in that period when you have a child and there is no intimacy that's going on in terms of like, you just can you imagine a period of waiting? The doctor says 6 to 8 weeks you have to wait. That takes, because you're so used to getting things when you want it, how you want it as a child, and now you're in this relationship and you have to wait through that period.
Right.
Imagine the level of maturity that it takes.
And a biblical relationship, a mature man comes into marriage fully. That is seen as a place of such honor and maturity that they're able to place their own desires, their own needs aside for the family, for those that they're protecting, overseeing, and care for.
Right. Yeah. So hopefully we do run, find someone and not like, because patience is something you just really can't teach people. And
right.
so like, wait, as it's something I'd like my son, but not like someone who is an adult. I wouldn't even know how to do that.
And isn't having a newborn baby something that just pushes you into delayed gratification?
Right.
That baby's changing that whole world and growing up people hopefully really quick to meet their needs.
And I think, isn't that crazy? Like human beings are the only ones that take an entire year to walk. Like, how is that? Like like you see a zebra, gazelle, like they give birth and they're already like running. You just like, oh, that in itself, just having a child and just waiting for them to mature and grow.
Yeah.
The patience that it takes, because human beings just grow so slowly.
Yeah.
So
I bless those that are with newborns. The lack of sleep, the hours, 3 hours, 2 hours of sleep, and then you're forced to be a functioning, mature adults. So I pray that people learn this before they get to that point.
So one, we talked about lack of empathy, misplaced anger, victimization, instant gratification, egocentrism, me, like toddlers, immature people are trapped within themselves, blind to other points of view. They do only what seems best for themselves. That's my ego.
And healing comes when a person can, they call it mentalization, to be able to put themselves in different stories and into other people's lives or in their body and see maybe a perspective from that point of view. That is such a gift, a healing tool that we all can learn. And that brings health and healing even to our own selves when we're able to do that. And that grows empathy, that grows compassion. And we could help each other mentalize how the other story might be across from us from that table.
Okay. If you're just joining us, we're talking about 10 signs of immaturity. And we talked about egocentrism. How about hostility? When confronted or contradicted, immature people default to personal attack immediately. Yeah.
That isn't a vengeance, wanting to hurt, especially if we're hurting. We want the other one just to hurt maybe even more than we do. Ooh.
Right. Like you feel like someone else getting like the spotlight, you think that it's taking from you. And so you become hostile to people if the attention is not to you. So it's like, I think they all kind of blend with each other, that egocentrism and hostility. If it's not about me, then I'm gonna be raging, right? Because it has to be about me. So they all kind of like work with each other somehow.
And people don't realize that there's the 10 Commandments says, thou shalt not murder. Okay. We can put that even, and that is in theology, even murder a character or murder a name, a reputation.
Right.
Okay. That's it. It's all inclusive with that. We've lost that wisdom and knowledge teaching brought down to the generations. People so easily want to have that character assassination on somebody and not recognizing the violence they themselves are walking into, that they're showing the world how violent they can be. They have almost a heartless soul to do that, just to take somebody's name and reputation away from them completely. It is equal to murder.
Yeah, that's the way I see it, because and media is just really the powerful right now, because everybody has a voice. Media can turn an innocent person and make them the
Just shatter them.
Yeah, shadow them and make a
Crush
perpetrator innocent, and so
Yeah.
the victim just goes forever.
And with lies, possibly besmirching their reputation, just without them having any platform to have their story heard too.
Right. And that leads into deception and manipulation, right? Because if I'm immature, I want people to see me as good and nice. I may not come out with my own authenticity. I'd rather pull other people down, manipulate people, deceive people. They tell lies even when honesty just would cost them nothing. They just constantly continue to lie and manipulate. Yeah.
And a lot of times that is from wounds from their past, how they had to survive, possibly even abuse and trauma in their past, to manipulate to get their own basic human needs met. It becomes a pattern and a way of living. And so part of healing from abuse and trauma is to recognize those old manipulative behaviors and to be able to responsibly meet their own needs in a new, healthier way. Right. Setting boundaries, respecting boundaries, and having your own initiative and clear-mindedness.
I mean, speaking about coming from trauma, I think that's why they say narcissism is kind of like the secondhand smoke of mental health. Because if you had like a narcissistic father who was lying so that they can say, for example, they can abuse their daughters or whatever in a sexual way. So there's a lot of lying that comes with that and hiding. So the daughter learns how to manipulate. The daughter learns deception from that situation. So maybe they may have never been that kind of a person, but they know how to do that. They know how to get their way later on. Yeah.
And so that young girl is they're not having their needs met. Right. So they end up manipulating that narcissist with learning the grooming techniques back to force or manipulate that narcissistic person to meet needs in a very destructive way, self-destructive way.
Right.
And even where they're only being able to get love and affection through having sex and thinking that's the only way I can get healthy love and affection is because I can be sexual tool for somebody else. It's a very destructive, self-destructive harm.
Yes. So I talk to men and guys who have come across a woman who they felt manipulated them and deceived them using their sexuality. So they're like, looks like you were just seducing me, but this is not your real you. And so they get hurt.
Right.
And the woman may not even have been, she's so oblivious to the fact that she could be using her sexuality as manipulation to get what she wants, whether to be the man to get his money or to have status or whatever. It's just being so oblivious to the ways in which you're getting what you want. that is so manipulative and destructive. And that comes from, you saying, childhood wounds, that's why we're doing this. It's just like recognizing that what we're doing is going back and healing and searching, like, and wondering and questioning, why am I behaving like this? Why am I doing things the way I'm doing them? Why is there, it seems like there's a pattern to the way I'm doing things, or that you tend to attract the same type of narcissistic people in your life.
Right.
And you're staying in the same circle of immature people. Like you see 20, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds who are both immature and stuck in the same patterns together, and they attract like attracts like. And so you get stuck in this immature cycle and never really grow and mature.
So key, you said they're looking at those patterns in your life is very key in that. Discovering and seeing and being willing to see the truth in those patterns.
And boundaries. Children really lack boundaries, and so immature people. And like I said, I think blurred boundaries is something that I think we're all on a journey towards being able to know how to draw boundaries, and also how to communicate that and let someone know, oh, by the way, these are the lines that you cannot cross. And communicating that is, drawing the boundaries is something, but communicating to somebody is a whole different thing. But with that is really, children, really, it's like children, they just don't know who to let in, how much to let in, and things like that.
And we're in an era that is so astonishing to me, that even as in America, we are not respecting our own boundaries, and the need for that, for protection, for well-being, welfare of our communities. And then it goes down from there. You have, businesses and leaders and communities and family members where we've losing and blurring those boundaries of what it means to respect a person's boundary, or to have healthy boundaries for well-being and protection.
Right. The next one is superficiality. I guess sometimes I'm telling you, I'm looking at all these and I'm just like, there was a time that I was just like all focused on what I look like, and just looking like a doll, and there's just like no depth. But you can tell people have, like, you see just the outside packaging is all put together, but then you try and have a conversation. It's just not a lot of depth in there. Don't we all need to mature in that area as well? I know, instead of focusing so much on the outward superficial.
We've lived in such a material world here in the United States, and maybe it bleeds out with the rest of the world, where image, prestige, by labeling, even wearing the proper labels, what we wear, what we drive, how we look a certain way. Hollywood has done that. Magazines have done that. Advertising has done that. Marketing has done that. And even, when we look at the hierarchy of our world governments, you had to have the right status, the right class, the right caste system in order to do things. Luckily, in coming with America, we were able to sort of break through some of those caste systems. And so you can have the little man, maybe the little person, the one that doesn't have a lot of wealth, focus on making themselves bigger and better of what they can achieve. But then we got into the materialism too.
Right.
So breaking through all that and really realizing it's the heart, it's the character, it's the individual character and heart that comes from the inside out that brings the worth and the value of a person, their ethics and morals and character.
Right. And last and not least is arrogance. Convinced they know it all. Immature people are deaf to feedback. Does that remind you of teenagers? You're just like, hey, I am in the University of Instagram. That's where I go. I know it all, and nothing you can tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've all fallen prey to that, especially when it comes to, we're in the age of we're in the information age, and everybody knows everything about everything. So it's like, who are you going to listen to?
Right. Who are
Right?
you going to trust?
Who are you going to trust? Yeah. So much pride and arrogance. I think that what has just really divided a lot of us. I think the most humble people I've seen are people who have just lived, and because now they know that they didn't know. You know what I mean? And so they're like, yeah, I didn't know. And it's really humbled me a lot. Just having conversations with people who have gone before me, it humbles me, and I'm open to learning and listening. And now I'm open to learning and listening. I'm when I before it was just too much arrogant.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, teach me, show me. I don't want to go out there and think that I know everything, and I don't. I really don't.
Yeah. That open, humble, teachable heart, right?
Right.
To be able to put ourselves in another person's skin, maybe see it through their eyes.
Right.
That's what I have prayed for, is, Lord, give me their eyes and help me see how they see, is really a good prayer. It helps us, it brings so much awareness and good knowledge for us to step into. It helps us to be more diverse in our abilities and skills to help and reach and connect and move with multiple different personalities and cultures. We have to be willing to look at other cultures too and enjoy them and appreciate them for the values that they bring too. And there might even be astonished on our commonality too, what we can come together and agree upon too. Be willing to say, I agree or I disagree without an argument. It means we aren't coming from that arrogant point of view, which is, I think, really needed at this point.
Right. Yes. We agree to disagree sometimes is very a mature way to look at arguments. Sometimes we just have to.
Yeah. And the listening, opening up our ears and actively listening and actively understanding where that person is coming to and helping them understand, oh, I really do hear you. And they can say, yeah, I really feel like you understand where I'm coming from. That just brings a place of peace. You don't have to agree, but to say, I get you, I see you, I hear you, and you hear me, you see me, and we can walk together. We're walking different paths, but we're walking together and appreciating the values of each other.
All right. So if you want to find these 10 traits of immaturity, and join us also, walk along with us. This book, 40 Days and Nights, Your Healing Journey to Freedom and Purpose, you can find this on Amazon.com. I have the link in the description as well. Support this ministry, support us. We are running this nonprofit. We don't pay ourselves with this, and so I have a lot of links. I have links to also be able to give. There are many different ways to give, through Venmo, through CashApp, and support our ministry as well. Go also to resilientsouls.org. And if you want to receive a newsletter, or if you want to know more about what we do, please go on there. And remember to share this video with somebody, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you can know the next time that we go live, right? It's nice to have this community of people who are living free and alive, and experiencing God's goodness, and people who are resilient in how we go through life, because there's just so much going on out there that we need to overcome, and we have already overcome. So I really appreciate everyone for joining us on this day 7 of 40 Days of Inner Healing. I've been here with Lisa. We've had an awesome conversation. Just look out for more videos and more things to come in the future. You have a wonderful day, and God bless you all.